ask you a couple of questions with regard to taxes. First of all, specifically, as you have studied and gone through the process and looked at the budget and looked at the obvious requirements that we're going to have to make some hard decisions in the state, do you see any place where you could see taxes cut, A, and I'm adding something else to this on behalf of everyone else here, it's very near and dear to my own heart, exactly how far and how draconian are you willing to be in cutting expenses?
I've always been a huge proponent of cutting expenses, and when I was on city council, I was very disappointed that we didn't cut as much as I thought we could. But there's a point where you serve kind of as a board of directors and you hire a city manager to do some things, but then this year I think they're going to be making a lot more cuts than we started while I was there. From the state's perspective, the agencies have already started a 5% cut. Is that going to be enough across the board? I don't know. But when we get down there, if we need to cut more, we will cut more. We are going to have to take our priorities, though, and say, are we going to cut education? Are we going to cut transportation? I mean, there's some priorities that we have to go say, we will fund these, and the other stuff, it might have to wait. The other question was
About cutting taxes.
About
are there other opportunities?
Were there other opportunities? Anytime there's an opportunity to cut taxes, I think both of us would agree we will be all over that. But when you have a $15 billion deficit, it's going to be really tough this year. I mean, it's really going to be tough, and then there's no way to sugarcoat that. But if you look at two areas, the margins tax, I know a lot of small businesses are really suffering from the margins tax. In 2012, the exemption for the $1 million is supposed to go back to $600,000. So I think one of the things that we can do is make sure that we can keep that at the $1 million exemption or make it $1.5 million, find funds to make sure we can do that. If it's not able to be cut out altogether. The other thing is appraisal reform. We need to continue working on unified appraisal reform across the state. But one of the things that everyone says it's the state's fault, you need to go back as concerned citizens back to your city councils and to your school boards and go watch what they're doing with the effective rate. Because if property values are going up in your city, your effective rate shouldn't be changing because the cities can make more money. Because the values have gone up. But if your values are dropping and they're going to change the effective rate, it's very confusing. But that's where you need to go pay attention to this, is at your local level with your city councils. So I'd really encourage everybody to do that.
Mr. Taylor, the question of the locations, if any, where you see some opportunity to cut taxes in a tough fiscal environment, and how willing are you to be draconian in cutting expenses?
Sure. I've actually written a plan to balance Texas's budget without raising taxes. In 2003, Texas faced a very similar budget problem to the one that we face today. We had a $10 billion budget shortfall on about a $120 billion budget. Coming into the 2011 legislature, we're looking at about a $10 to $15 billion budget shortfall. We really don't know how much because every month it changes depending on how much sales tax revenue the state collects. On a $157 billion biennial budget, which was the last legislative session. So about the same percentage problem. In 2003, the state of Texas went through, reorganized state government, saved taxpayers $10 billion, and balanced the budget without raising taxes. We need to do that again. I've written a plan about that. That's what we need to do. As far as priorities for cutting taxes, my first priority is to get rid of the franchise tax. I think that there are already people in Austin right now say, hey, we can balance the budget by raising the franchise tax. Most all the jobs created in Texas are created by small business. Small business is the engine for economic growth in our state. Jobs come from small business, not from big government. I think if families here in Plano are cutting back, if businesses are cutting back, government should cut back. Government should not raise taxes to get bigger. I think that's the exact wrong answer. I think that looking to small businesses to foot the bill is totally the wrong place. I'm also optimistic about the ability of the state of Texas to continue to buy down the Robin Hood plan and to reduce the amount of money that's taken away from Plano. That's already happened to the tune of about $60 million a year from Plano ISD. And it'd be nice to get that down to zero. And actually, I'd just like to keep going and get rid of school property taxes altogether. Believe it or not, Texas has had enough excess over this. If we had been doing that for the last 16 years, we would have actually brought down school property taxes to almost zero. Instead, unfortunately, we spent that money on extra spending on state government. I think that was a mistake. That is a decision I would have taken to state. But in the future, if you elect me, I will work towards getting rid of the franchise tax and getting rid of school property tax. It's going to take a long time to do it. I mean, I'm not a magician, but that's my commitment to you, is to get rid of those two taxes. Those are the top two taxes that we get rid of.
Okay, I want to keep you there.